Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. And I am so excited to have this call. This is a long anticipated conversation. Before we get into that part, I just need to say thing quickly. This is the Lunar New Year. So happy Lunar New Year to everyone. We're having a lot of energetic experiences right now. The amount of reports and emails and messages that I've been getting from y'all is like my inbox is completely overwhelmed right now. Um, and so I just kind of wanted to bring that up so you all know that you're not alone, that there's a lot of us that are feeling all kinds of weird stuff. A lot of upgrades, a lot of spiritual gifts that have never been experienced before coming online, all kinds of stuff. So if that's you, just know you're okay. You're not alone. And this is the fun part of the ride. So, having said all of that, my beautiful guest, Vineeta, joins us from Hawaii. I haven't had a chance to talk to Vineeta for like 7 months, was on her show a year ago on this show. So I'm really excited to we haven't really even caught up yet. So this will be doing this live. So hello everyone, welcome. And how are you, Vineeta?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. And like you said, so much is going on. I'm just delighted to see you. And I'm just looking at the chat too. All our friends are coming in. I did share with a couple of people, but I'm super excited to be here and so good to see you. And I'm thrilled to kind of come out of my bubble. So thank you for bringing me out of my bubble. I've been in a bubble for about 6 months.
So what caused the bubble? Can I ask you that? If I ask you any questions, by the way, you don't have to answer it, just so you know.
Well, it's funny, Pamela, because you know, it's one of those things like, we all go through different transitions and things that happen in our life, right? You went through some big transitions, not too long ago yourself. And sometimes we just have to kind of take that time for ourselves. As you know, and a lot of people know, I have a podcast, right? But in the process of what was going on in the past 6 months, I just had to put it on pause, and that's okay. So basically, in a nutshell, in the 6 months, I basically wrapped up my life in Chicago, put a bunch of stuff in storage, cleansed, purged, donated, did all the things, answered the call to come to Hawaii. So I bought a one-way ticket. I said, I'm not 100% sure what is going to be happening, but I'm going to take that leap. I'm going to trust the universe and just get over here. So I did. And so that's kind of where I am. So basically, I'm coming out on your show and letting everyone know that I've moved to Hawaii.
Hooray! What's it like there energetically right now? I'm just curious. That is like a big portal energy space.
Yes, it is. And it's really interesting. I literally, even though, how we're like, we've all done a lot of work, we kind of, not to put a label, but it's like, we're vibrating pretty high. But I mean, I love Chicago. I really do. And I'm so grateful for my time there. But it's very dense, right? And I knew coming to this island, it would be a huge energy shift, right? So I was
Yeah.
literally 2 weeks before coming. I was like, all right, team, start to ground me into the energy here because I don't want my body to go into shock from the change in the frequency, right? And so I was doing that. And I remember the first day I got here, like literally I land, I go straight to the farmer's market. I was like, I gotta get my stuff. Oh my gosh, my friend Kritika's here. Yay. I know I see so many people in the chat. I'm so grateful for so many people who be here to support us.
Yeah.
I go straight to the farmer's market, drop off my stuff, and I was like 3 minutes away from the beach. I go straight to the beach, right? And I just go sit there. And I could feel like I'm getting chills even now, Pamela. It was just this, I almost felt like I was getting an energetic hug.
Oh,
It just
wow.
felt, I could feel the vibration was so, it was high, but it was also like so warm. It was just like, okay, I'm meant to be here. I'm supposed to be here, So
Mm.
so yeah, that was kind of like what ended up happening energetically. And like every place, right, Pamela, there's just as much as there's super high vibe here, that there's a lot of dark over here too, right? So
Yeah.
let's just say one of the things that I learned when I came to this island is, I'm not going to say the name, but one of the biggest food companies that don't do good things with our food is based here. And I had no idea. So I was like,
Oh,
go
I didn't
figure.
know
Of
that.
course, of course. But that tells you, right? As long as there's lots of light, there's going to be sometimes an equal amount of darkness, right? So that's just part of the
Yeah.
equation. But where do you
Yeah.
want to play? Where do you want to play? So I'm on a farm surrounded by nature and buffaloes and ducks and chickens and waterfalls. So that's what I'm choosing.
Yeah. Awesome. That's beautiful. And that's a really good point to bring up is that, you know, I've had the same experience where because spirit is excited. And so I always like kind of piggyback off of how spirit's feeling and about whatever we're about to do. Um, However, I don't always think about when they're excited about me doing, releasing or relieving something. And often it does feel like less than a party at first. And I always forget that. So I go in there like I got my, noisemakers and I'm ready to have a party, and it's really intense. Like you just go, whoa, like the natural springs here. I was like really excited to go do this work that spirit guided me to do in the springs, the hot springs. And I hadn't even considered the hundreds of years of sex stuff, the enslavement and all the kind of stuff that had to be cleared. And so when I went there, I was ready to party and I was I was hit upside the head with some density.
That's kind of what happens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. Like just being able to Sharmany's so funny. I love her.
Isn't
Um,
she?
saucy and spicy. But anyways, I just wanted to take a moment to just thank everybody who's joining us. And I'm so grateful for a lot of people that I'm connected to. Obviously, you have your audience, Pamela, but I have been very quiet and silent. So I knew that a lot of people had no idea. So I'm like, all right, this is my coming out party on Pamela's show that I moved to Hawaii.
I hadn't realized you didn't tell people, so I actually put that in the description. I hope that's okay.
It's perfect. It's perfect because sometimes people are just joining on, right? Might not even read all the descriptions, so who knows? But if they did, great. Then they got to find out a little advance of the show.
Good. So, I mean, here, okay, we always should ask this question first. When was your awakening?
My awakening was aligned perfectly with the pandemic. So March of 2020 is when all the party began.
Holy cannoli. I think you've told me that before, but that it has a whole different perspective now. Wow. So, do you want to talk on that at all? Like how that kind of started?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of give like the short version. It's great because as time goes by, like, how you say the story gets like kind of, more integrated. Hey, Sarah. So yeah, it's basically what happened is I had this most incredible food business that I absolutely loved and adored was my, you know, it's like my highest joy and expansion. And basically it was like my baby. It was a food business with another business partner. And long story short, there were cracks, things were starting to crumble. And the next thing you know, we had to close down the business. But she chose to just exit. And then I was left to kind of wrap up the entire business. So not only was there the feeling at that time of like, oh my gosh, trail and being all the words we know, all of us have been through it, right? So it's not like I'm sharing anything new. We get all the feeling, how could this happen to me? I'm such a good person, la la la, all of these things. But I could tell in the process of honoring the business and doing everything, there was so much trauma in all of my bodies, right? And this is when I wasn't even awake, right? This was 2019. So in the process of
Ooh.
closing down the business and doing everything, I recognized even at that time, I was like, whoa, I'm gonna have a lot of work to do. Like I can feel the trauma in my body and let alone the emotionals and everything else. So end of 2019, My mom was in India, and she was like, let's go to this Ayurvedic thing. I really want to go. She's been talking about it for years, but with the food business, I couldn't go because December would be our busiest time. So I'm like, yes,
Right.
mom, I'm ready. Let's go. So I go with her to India, to Kerala, which is in the south part of India. We go do a 21-day panchakarma. So people who are familiar with Ayurveda, there are different processes that you can do that are basically like cleansing, like a full-on detox cleanse. Um,
Wow.
so my mom and me both did that. And through that process, it really helped at least to physically purge all the trauma that was like hanging out in my body. And then when I came back to Chicago, I was like determined. I was like, all right, I've done all of this work. I've literally, in quotes, suffered through 21 days and done all of this stuff. Now I'm going to start to work on the other pieces of my healing. And lo and behold, perfect timing with the pandemic. So basically
Wow.
all of that happening was what really kicked me into my journey. But it was almost like, you know, we don't always know how the universe is working, right? So we look at it like, oh my God, how could this happen? This is the worst thing ever. But I also, even at that point, as I was starting, understood that there was so much more that I didn't even know. But then having that time now, right, to just focus on my healing was profound. It was so important and pivotal. So I was like, thank you, higher self, for planning it out.
Yeah. Wow. That's perfect. That's I love your story, and you were made to prepare your body just before the other foot stepped, basically. Wow, that's perfect.
Yeah, it was huge.
Awesome.
It was huge because it's like, you know, I realized I kind of was already setting up the foundation for myself.
Yeah.
And as I was kind of doing my healing journey, what I didn't realize is as I adopted all the things I learned at this Ayurvedic center, not because I was trying, like within 6 months, I could see so many changes. Like I literally dropped like 20 pounds. And I wasn't
Yeah.
doing anything other than, yeah, I'm following the practices. I'm at home, I'm doing my work. So many things shifted. That was just one physical thing that I could tell. But many other symptoms that I had gone in with were like gone. So they were like, you know, basically transformed by me committing to doing the work as well. But yeah, that was just part of the process, right? That was one aspect of the healing.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that's really cool. That's beautiful. So, then March 2020, that was the month that, the federal lockdown occurred. It actually happened on my birthday, so I'll
Oh,
always remember the date.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was
That's pretty wild. That was it. You know what was interesting? I was actually in California for a huge expo. I had dreamed of going there with my business. I think it's called like the Organic Natural Expo. I'm sure I'm like making the wrong name, but it's like one of the largest expos for like natural, clean, good food. And we are there, and literally 6 hours before it was supposed to start, they're like, we're canceling it because we're hearing all of this thing about like COVID or this thing, and we don't want to take a risk. So all of us ended up going back home, you know, and I come back and within 7 days, boom, shut down.
wow. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. 6 hours, like, you're right there.
And can you imagine all the people that are flown in, you know, sometimes 3, 4 days to set up their booth, and all the people that they flew in, the hotels, the reservations. I mean, there's so much that takes place, you know, like not just, oh, I'm going to go attend the event. There's so much that happens, and all of these people that get impacted, not just there, but like everywhere, right? So yeah, it's like so
Yeah.
much happened. All I remember is watching videos of like, why are people stocking up on toilet paper? I'm really confused. What's happening?
I'll never wrap my head around that part. Like, that's actually when the first meme I ever made was I was making memes about people hoarding toilet paper because I thought it was the most silly, like people are literally going to call that they are now the toilet paper apocalypse. It's so funny.
But you know what? It's so real though. I remember getting back and I go to my local Jewel, which was down the street, empty. I literally had to talk to my doorman. I'm like, James, I don't have any toilet paper. He's like, I'm gonna find you some. He got me one 4-pack from like a dollar store like a few days later, but it was like it was a thing.
It's like, I got you what you want, what you want, what you
It was
want.
hilarious, but it was also like real, right? It's like, oh my God, no, this is real. It's like in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, what's really strange about that whole time was that, like, that was when I started to understand that the full capacity of how our realities are intersected. Like, some are experiencing this and some are experiencing this. And though we meet somewhere in that Vesca Pisces part
Yeah.
where the worlds merge, some of us aren't experiencing this stuff over here when others are, and like, as an example, is that we never once went without anything. When we would go to the stores and they were fully stocked and we were like, everything was, we got what we, I was that person that always did my main shopping once a month, so I kind of blended in with people who were like over purchasing. I just don't like to go to the shops any more. And I was living off grid at the time too. So,
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
but then I would return home and I would be getting photographs of the same store I was just at that was completely bare. And I
Oh,
kept thinking at first, did I just time it right? And but then I would go again and it would be fully stocked again. It was the most bizarre and like,
wow.
and that was when, yeah, we go along on this reality like this. And some people, same for the LA fires. I know people who live on the same street that they're showing this havoc has occurred. And my heart goes out to everyone experiencing any kind of difficulty there for sure. Though there's some people that I know that have no evidence of these fires. They're
Yeah.
like, it didn't happen to me.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? It's just so cool how that works.
It makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time where, so much of this is about vibration and frequency. Like you and I could be standing next to each other and witnessing the exact same thing, but have a completely different experience because our vibration, right?
Yeah.
And you could sit there and argue and say, no, it wasn't that, it was this. And you're like, no, it was this. And you're like, but the truth is, you're both right. You're
Yeah.
both right. You just perceive the same thing in a very different way depending on your vibration. So I totally understand what you're saying. And it's going to happen more and more in my mind where we're not all going to experience the same things.
Mhm. Yeah. It's going to be completely different for some. And, there's actually a question that came up that
Mm.
from Vegan Vixen. And this is kind of segues it. So I want to grab it again. She wanted to know if anyone's experiencing this or has experienced it. Is her follow-up comment. My mate has been ill since going out in the thick fog one night. He has had several breathing problems. He was told it contained parasites. Now, what I'm bringing up here is, have you heard about that weird fog? The not fog.
Not really. No.
Okay. Well, then you didn't have it there. So congratulations. We had I'll find some footage for you and email it to you after the show. Though what had happened here and a lot of places over the country was that, well, I'm one of those habitual weather watchers. I don't know why, that's just something I've always done. But there was this weird fog coming in and everyone was getting this sudden fog warning, severe fog, when there wasn't any evidence of it before. It was like sudden, and it wasn't just here, it was also in Australia. And that people tried to explain it with the time frame. Anyway, people had caught the fog on their like Ring cameras, like when you push like the doorbell cameras, and they're like it. You can actually see that they're not. It's separate little things, and they're flying like separate consciousnesses. And so we had our own experience with it. We were out in it. It was weird. And it did feel really weird. Something was off about it. So we ended up coming in and we ended up falling ill for a little while. You could call it ill. What it was like we were really all of a sudden just really drained, super tired, and it lasted a week. I had to cancel appointments, all kinds of stuff. And my daughter and I both laid in bed for like a week. And
Wow.
so you haven't heard of this?
No, so we, being in Hawaii, we have our own stuff going on. So when you said fog, the first thing that came to my mind is Pele has been very active, right, on the island. So we've been getting a lot of volcanic activity, and they call it VOG here, right? Because it's not fog, it's volcanic. So it's like VOG. So we've been actually receiving it depending on the winds, and people actually were getting like, sick from it. But different, but we're having our own weather things. And in fact, today through the next couple of days where I am, severe thunderstorm and flood kind of warnings are happening. So we're kind of in our own bubble, but we're also experiencing a lot of weather related things.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got we're right now in aerial flood warning that just initiated, and it's going to go for like 24 hours too. So that's
Yeah.
interesting that we have the same type of thing, and it's just around me. Like I was showing the image to Elsa, and she's like, "It's like you're in the center of a moat, basically."
Oh my gosh, too funny. It's
Yeah,
interesting. I mean, so much. We all know there's so much going on with the weather, just all over the place. And, it's hard these days because I know a lot of us are also like, is this real? Is this man made? Is this, there's all of that controversy that goes around it too, right? And then sometimes it's like, no, it's Mama Gaia doing her thing, so it's kind of hard to say, right? I think we all just have to kind of tune into what feels right for us and,
yeah,
kind of go from there.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like that, just like you said, whatever it is that comes in, you can transmute. And speaking of transmutation, that's what this year is about. The snake is the totem of transmutation. So
Yes.
today is the beginning of the first day of the year of the wood snake, and wood is Woden, Odin, Voden, right? And so, but we can transmute anything. I actually found this out when I was asking Spirit about people getting the jab.
Mm.
I care about everybody, and I just wanted to know. And they didn't answer specifically about the jab. They did a much more broad answer. They said anything that you take into your body, you can transmute. And
Yeah.
so, and a lot of us take things into our body so we can learn how to do that.
Yeah.
For the same purpose of people talk about psychic attacks, and it's not so much that we're a victim or something like that. It's that those things happen to teach us that we have that spiritual muscle, so we know how to stop those things.
Correct.
And you wouldn't try to do it if it wasn't there was some conflict, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's exciting. I'm just, thinking about like this new year and this, the snake. And it's interesting when I look at the images of the snake, I don't know whether it's just the way that they draw them. It just still connects to me with dragon energy a lot.
I know.
So I'm just like, well, it's a snake, but it kind of looks like a dragon. But we also know that the dragons are very active now. So, but I'm really excited because I do feel like this year, if people choose, it can be, just a step into so much transformation and just really doing our work to release things that might be holding us down in any way. It's just not things that are no longer needed. Like for me to go through this huge process this year, like it was huge. Like Pamela, you've done it, I think more than once. Like I had not moved in over 20 years. So just the
Wow.
thought of having to go through my stuff, I was like, oh my God, how is this going to happen? Right. But now that I look back, I was like, whoa, this was so huge. It was so transformational for me because it was not just physically unloading things. It's like, it's all connected, right? To your emotional, your spiritual, all of it. And being able to release all of that, there was just this lightness in my being that I didn't even realize was not there, right? And
Yeah.
now when I think about where I am, I was like, wow, I just have like, 4 or 5 pieces of luggage and a couple of bags. It's like I went from like this, really comfortable one large bedroom to like a much smaller space. You're like, wow, but that's possible, right? Like it's
Yeah.
possible if you're feeling called, and I was like, what better time? Just what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? That, oh, it didn't work out. Great. I'll find another place, you know? But in my heart, I knew, and I know you and I have talked about this, right, Millie? You're like, I always see Hawaii with you, Vineeta. And I was like, yeah. And, yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there. And then when the universe kind of opened up a space, I'm like, girl, jump in, get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm just gonna say this in pub on this, but you had sent me a message, and now that you've told people, but you sent me a message, an email saying that you had done it, and I tried to respond to you like 4 times, and every time something would happen that would stop the sending, and so then I was like, okay, I'm taking that hint, spirit, like I don't know why I'm supposed to not supposed to respond right now, but my heart has been with you the whole journey when you had told me what was happening. So I'm just so happy that you did this.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's really it's been amazing and I'm so grateful. And it's sort of one of those things where when you take the leap, you're like, is the universe going to catch me? Like, am I going to be okay? Those things are there, the normal human things, and I'm so incredibly grateful. Like, once I committed and things just started to open up, and next thing you knew, I had a place to stay. Then I connected with them, a couple of people, so I was able to reach out to them, and someone came to the airport to receive me and to take me to my new temporary home. And so so much has unfolded, but I just keep getting reminded how we are so held, and it's okay to have the fears and to have the concerns, but to like move forward anyways, but just always like coming from your heart space, right? Like what feels right. Just go inside and what feels right. And then of course, we get all the confirmations from outside, right? It's like whether some of us that's angel numbers, or we see certain birds, or so many things, right? We all have our ways, but it's been a really beautiful journey. And I was looking into wanting to live on a farm before I even came here. It's like, I want to live on a farm and be in a community, and I want to get that experience. And lo and behold, that's what I've manifested. So I'm sitting at a farm. I've been here over 2 weeks, and I'm like, wow, that happened.
Yay. Wow. And I kind of feel like those types of manifestations can't truly occur until we release these. I understand now that the material belongings in quantity are false anchors. They eliminate our options. Like I feel like that's the purpose.
Yeah.
And it's done intentionally. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so when we release these unneeded items that we pile up in the corners, all of a sudden, then our options become that they multiply.
Yeah. And we sometimes get put in a space where, like, I'll be honest, like right before I was leaving, hey Pavna, she's one of my Kauai sisters. I'm so excited she's
Yay.
here to join. And I just remember like looking around in my apartment like 2 days before I was like leaving. Oh my God, Pamela, I was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to get all of this done. And then I got it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to release all of this stuff. I literally
Yeah.
have to just release it. And in that
Yeah.
moment, I was like, okay, that's the decision I need to make. I do have to go now. And I checked in with my team, and they're like, nope, you need to go now. So I just
Okay.
had to take care of it. Like, I was sitting here in Kauai, still getting my apartment situated, like getting it cleared out or whatever needed to happen. And also thanks to a couple of my dear friends who helped me out. But that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? It's like be in flow as much as possible. And that's something I feel very strongly here, specifically on this island, is you need to surrender and be in flow. Mama Kauai does not like when you're kind of trying to push and force things. She's like,
Mhm.
that is not what we're playing with here.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally get that. I love that it's a very similar vibe to the South,
Mm,
where it's just like there are some people that try to hurry and rush through things, and they are like they stick out like a sore thumb. And everybody else is just like, do, 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 like you'll get there.
Well, and just to kind of throw it back to you, Pamela, like you've done this more than once. So you're actually quite efficient at, kind of moving and packing and following your inner guidance. Like, in the past couple of years, like you had to do a lot of that yourself. So I know that, you very much are tuned into like what's right for you. And then you just make the move, whatever it takes.
If I can, like, yeah, I mean, I thank you for saying that. It's difficult. It's difficult when you first, because I think the first main one, well, picking up and leaving Utah with a van of stuff, with my 3-year-old, and then we were kicked off of our land. We were off grid, and I was like, cool, this is the perfect place to be during lockdown. I just started an acre of the best garden. I just barely completed my homemade greenhouse out of all these windows I've been collecting all over the place. Like I was set. And they were like, oh no, you're not going to live on this land anymore. And like all of a sudden, then we were homeless, um, and through each one of those steps, but those are the main ones right there. Those ones taught me how much I held on to control. And the illusion of control is actually lack of control. And it took a long time to be able to figure that out. Once I just said, you know what? The universe is here. They always catch you. The universe always catches you. And when you can trust that the universe will catch you and just take that step, even though you can't see where your foot's going to hit, then it does. It catches you, and it's better than you could have ever imagined. Like, what I had hoped for myself was so much more smaller than what I ended up receiving. It's amazing, but it's hard to first do that in the beginning.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, like I don't even know what tomorrow's going to bring, right? Like I've gotten to a point now where I'm like I've moved more than once and I'm like I'm here. This is probably temporary as well, but I'm not caught up in like, oh my god, what's going to happen and where am I going to be? Like just being present, being in flow, knowing and trusting that it'll all unfold the way it's supposed to, and I will find my way around, trusting that, just trusting that it's all going to like work out. And that couldn't have happened had I not gone through this major transition in the past 6 months, right? It's allowed me to step into this process of greater surrender, of really allowing myself to be in flow, and then getting the confirmations like I mentioned. So it's really powerful. And we all do it in our own way. I have so many people say to me like, oh my god, there's no way I could do something like that. Are you kidding me? I could never just pack up my life and just go move off somewhere. I said, I'm sure you could. It's just not in your reality at the moment. But if that option or something comes up, you might make a decision. Because here's the thing, I could have chosen to stay in Chicago. Nothing wrong with that choice, right? It's like, oh, okay, my time in this place is up. What would I like to do? So I did. I did look in Chicago. I'm like, all right, as I'm exploring options. And then when this thing with Hawaii came up and I started to move in that direction, I was like, okay, you know what? That's the direction I'm going. That's what I'm going to do. And, we all know what flow feels like. And so just one thing leading to the next and opening up, you're like, okay, great. It's all happening. And so, yeah, it's an incredible process. And you're doing that as well. Like, how long has it been since you've been in your space? Like just a little over a year?
So where I am currently located, because I had another move. Where I'm currently located, we've been here since May. So though we left Washington and went down to Texas and stayed there for like about 2 months, I think. So we left on the 1/1 portal on November 11th, or excuse me, November 1st. And then went down to Texas, and then we came up to Arkansas. We arrived in Arkansas or we arrived where we were going to stay on the 13th of December. But we crossed over into Arkansas on the 12/12 portal. So, and then we found some place to sleep. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am feeling very much that this is that year of, again, a lot of people really kind of tuning into themselves about what am I ready to shift and to change, whatever that is, right? It doesn't have to be a physical move, but
Yeah.
people transitioning from whatever they're doing, whether that's like, oh, I want to start my business, or I want to wrap this up, I want to do that. Plus, it's also a 9 year, correct? So that's another thing of things wrapping up so that we can start new things. So I think it's really interesting that it's a 9 year and snake, which is all about transformation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
very interesting that it's endings, transformation all together. So lots of great energies to work with.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is speaking of like baking or something, you got all the best stuff for your scratch, You're gonna do something cool here. And it's really cool too, because I've been seeing these visuals for a while. Spirit's been showing me, and I didn't realize exactly how it fit into the now we're in. Like you said, it's the year of completion. The 9 is the year of completion. Um, but what's more is I keep seeing everyone's starting to have this opaque look on them, like what happens to a snake before it starts to come out of its mouth. The skin starts to peel off its body, and it starts to reemerge a better, more complete form. And that's the visual that they've been showing me. Until you said that, I hadn't really clicked it, but that's really neat that that's what they're showing us. You know, we're looking for some really cool stuff this year. I'm really excited. We're
Yeah.
finally here. It's finally 2025.
Yeah. I know it's interesting too, right? Because there is so much going on in the universe, and it's so easy for us to get pulled in all of these different directions, which is part of the purpose. It's like to distract us, as they say. So I
Yeah,
think more and more, us just kind of coming back to our center and aligning with what feels right to us. Because like what feels right to me might not feel right to you, Pamela, right? Or might not feel right to Sharmini. So it's just, we all have to just be like, it's not a cookie cutter solution for anybody. Everybody kind of needs to figure out their own thing and do what makes them happy, right? And I think that's what I felt the most is, I think I'm in a place where I'm just literally like, I don't like to use the word chasing, but I'm just being and chasing my highest joy and excitement,
yeah,
and it feels really beautiful. Not to say I'm not going to navigate through all the human stuff, of course, but I have more tools in my toolbox now, so I
yeah,
don't have to be part of the chaos. I don't have to be part of the drama. I can choose my own experience.
yeah, yeah. It really is that. And we don't even like, this is actually an example that Charmony just wrote. The tornadoes that we had tornadoes where I was at before, and it's the most bizarre thing. It's like um we started getting out, my phone kept yelling at me, get to cover and all this stuff. And I was like, getting annoyed. So I turned, because Spirit's like, you're fine. And they showed me it was going to go around us, like all the way around. So I'm like, turn off my phone, stop yelling at me, trying to get me to be scared. And my daughter and I just like snuggled in bed and read books together, and it was really great. And then afterward, everyone around us, literally everyone around us were affected except for us.
Wow.
And it was that I mean, I'm not telling you if you feel like you're in a dangerous situation, take care of yourself. It's just, I was guided. Spirit showed, you're good. You're in a perfect place where you're supposed to be. Just keep your frequency high. And in doing so, we chose our own story. You choose your own adventure. That's what this life is. It's one of those choose your own
Yes.
adventure books.
Well,
So
and
how do you
such a great reminder. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
there's just a delay. Go ahead, please. You do. You go
No, yeah,
ahead.
like, thank you. That's such a beautiful share, because it's a little bit of like like what we were talking about before, that, we're all going to have different experiences, but
Mhm.
realizing that we actually are these master creators. Like, we literally are manifesting things. Like, I know this might sound like a small thing, but every day I'm like, I was like, beautiful grand central sun, I want you to be part of my reality today. You know,
Yeah.
like, I just say that. And so many times, whatever you want to call it, it's like, hey, there's the sun. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by what you're sharing, because a lot of us who are here doing our work, that's part of our work, to actually work with the energetics of weather. I know I'm
Yeah.
that person as well. So it's like I'm very aware when things are happening, but I kind of know in my heart that it's going to be okay. Like, we're helping to make things happen in a way where, of course, we don't want anyone to be harmed, or, you know, things happen to them. But we also have to know that everyone's on their own journey, and everyone's sort of made certain, let's say, for lack of a better word, contracts or choices. And so we all really have kind of a big say in what we get to experience. And so I think that's another really important thing that I hope that everyone realizes, that it's not just what's happening outside, it's like what's inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
the choice, this is going to be a question that people are going to have when they're watching this, whether they're here now or they're going to watch this later, is because I know that this is something that I felt at an earlier point in my life, probably in like my late teens, early 20s was where I was really in that place. It's That's good for you, but what about me? I'm stuck, or I this is and so I'm just going to put my 2 cents and then let you and add whatever you want to this. Um, is that I learned that I was I was the one creating my own prison. I was the one perpetuating the same reality over and over again. And how I changed it was very literally is I healed through the trauma that was keeping me in this same cycle, because until I can heal something, it's going to keep coming in and pointing at it and pointing at it. Some of this trauma that we're talking about is from previous life cycles, different incarnations, and we don't always know where it came from, why we're having it. It's just there. And so, you know, instead of having to logic it, just let yourself feel it, because once you feel it, then it can go, and then it stops coming back in and over again, and we don't have the same cycle of bad relationships or money issues, lack of abundance. I mean, I went through a whole string of abusive relationships before I figured that one out. And things like this. It's just deciding to let yourself feel through it, heal through it. And then the universe says, "Oh, good job, pat you on the head. Now you can do the next thing. Congratulations. You had to let go of the nuts to get your hand out of the tree." Right? Like that's how they trap the monkeys. They put nuts in the tree, and like, just let go. Just let go, let it flow, and feel through it. And that's it. And so that's my answer to that question. You want to add to that?
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that, Pamela. You said it beautifully. What was coming to my mind is, like, during my healing journey, um, it was very interesting, because you kind of like have to go through that whole process, right? I was like, oh my God, this person was such a narcissist, and I can't believe they did this to me, and da 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 da. So I went through all of that. And then, like, maybe a few months later, I was like, huh, this is really interesting. I, I think the common denominator is me in all of this. Oh, heck, it's my pattern. It's
Yeah.
my pattern. And then I realized my pattern, just like you said, you've been in a stream of, like, for you, it was, abusive relationships. For me, it was a different thing in my relationships, whether it was friends or whatever it was. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. So awareness. And then this is the biggest one. I'm going to say it: taking responsibility for your part.
Hmm.
Because it's so easy to point that finger out there. But guess what? That finger actually needs to come back to you and to say, hey, what was my part? What did I do to help create these scenarios. And when I realized that, that I think was my biggest transformation, because I was like, whoa, Vineeta, you got to break the pattern. Because if you don't break the pattern, you know what you're going to be doing? You're just going to keep attracting that same type of person into your life. Like magic. You'll be like, oh, how did this happen again? It was me. So I think that was so huge. But then I was able to go further down in my journey another couple of months, where now I could look back and say, wow, that person was my teacher. And we have many teachers in our life, right? But to shift from like, oh, this person's this crazy narcissist and they did this stuff, to, wow, thank you for being one of my greatest teachers,
Yep.
for helping
Yep.
me break one of the greatest patterns, along with what you're saying. That's part of the shadow work. It's not pretty, it's not pleasant, and it's certainly not overnight. But when you're able to get to that place, whoa, so much shifts, right? Because now that whole thing of being able to see from a new lens, and also to be like, whoa, yep, a lot of that was me. So
Yeah.
let's work on fixing myself before I worry about what's happening outside. Because the moment I do that and I shift, things outside of me will shift. And you know what's beautiful too, Pamela, what you shared is, when we energetically shift, that energy literally just, it's in our kind of aura, and it
Yeah.
energetically flows out. So anybody that like steps into it is receiving if they choose, right? And I know I can see people shift and they're like, what just happened? What was that? I think I just got hit by some love bubble. Like, what's happening here? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like just being, and like simple thing, just standing at the grocery store line and just say, yeah, I'm just gonna love bomb people. What else am I doing? I'm just sitting here with my stuff. I gotta check
Yeah.
out. So do it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, kind of like a long answer to what you were sharing, but it's like, I just think that this is such a big part of it, of this transformation, is go inside. Go inside. Go
Yep.
inside.
Definitely. I'm really glad you brought that up, because like that's one aspect. We left behind the reality of the victim mentality, as well as the victimizer, and so too the martyr left with it. That happened already. And so those trying to function in that place is not really working out. Now remember, see, because I know there was some confusion in the spiritual community at the earlier stages of this, is that doesn't mean that you're just going to let people violate you.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the opposite. Now you're able to stand in your power, foresee it. Sometimes we see it ahead of time, and sometimes it's in the moment, where you stand in your no.
Yeah.
I will not tolerate this behavior.
Yes.
There's people separating long-term relationships, finding themselves having been in an abusive situation for a long time. Choosing to stay is, sometimes you feel stuck and trapped. I get that, because I too was in that position for a period of time. However, you're the one that chooses. You're the one that decides to stay. You're the one that makes that final decision. Once we choose to say, I will not tolerate this. I am worth being treated kindly. I am worth being loved. I have a high enough worth to receive back what I
Yes.
give out, at least in a portion. Because those of us are all such givers. We're all
Mhm.
so loving and service to other oriented. And that does not mean that you won't receive back. In fact, you're supposed to. So yeah, and I block people. There are people who are like, you shouldn't block anybody. No, dude. If someone's going to treat me unkindly, I'm blocking them. I'm not. If I don't, if that, yeah, I'm cutting cords. I'm removing them. I'm deleting comments. You know what I mean? Like, y'all want to be all funky, do it on that side of the street. This is the happy side. Anyway.
And you're so right, Pamela. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think what for me was so important was, when you kind of go through this process, you learn all these different things about yourself and you start to like work on them. I just realized my boundaries totally shifted, like what was acceptable, not acceptable, and being able to speak it, right? And have some vocabulary, some tools. Like I know so many people can relate to being like empaths. I don't have a different word for it, but that's what it is. You just feel so strongly, taking on people's energies. And what would happen is I was doing it all my life and I would be so drained, but I just didn't know what to do. And all the
Yeah.
people around me would be like, "Oh my God, Vineeta, that was so helpful. You just shifted all these things for me. I feel so great." I'd be like, "Yeah, but I feel awful. I feel really drained. I feel really tired. Now, what do I do? I don't know
Yeah.
what to do, you know?" And part of that also could have been that I wasn't ready to look at things for myself, but I was so focused and busy on helping everybody else that I kind of forgot about myself, you know? So it was really great, like during this journey, to be able to understand those aspects and say, to be gentle and have compassion, right? Say, Vanita, you did the best you could. You didn't have all the tools. Now you do. So now you can make different choices. And just like you said, Pamela, it's almost like me leaving Chicago. And I'm so grateful for everything from that experience, all the people. But I found myself naturally not being connected to a lot of people anymore that were there. And that's okay. Like we have to be okay with, just going in the flow of trusting the universe that
Excuse
whoever
me.
needs to be part of our path is, we're going to connect with them. And sometimes we do have to just shift out of certain spaces because we're ready for something else in our journey. And I'm sure all of us can relate to this, is people that we thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to be connected to them for the rest of my life. And we're going to do this
Right.
together and that together." And then a couple of months later, you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess what's going to be happening." But then to be okay with it, not to say you don't grieve it, not to say you don't feel your heart breaks, because you're just like, "Oh my gosh, I had all this things that we were going to like do and plan together. Okay, I guess that's not going to be what's happening." And that's okay. So, being more fluid, releasing attachments, that's been my biggest thing, like learning to like not attach to things like I used to, and
Yeah.
being more in flow and surrendering and just trusting.
I'm really happy you brought that up too, because that's a big thing that's happening across the world right now. I mean, it's one of the most commonly noticed characteristics of Dark Night of the Soul is shedding of relationships.
Yeah.
Those who don't serve us, we also don't serve them. We're not doing them any favors sticking around, and it's like, we're trying to stay. So there's like this constant like, but it's there's no flow, there's no joy, and not in the way that it's meant to be. And so we do, for sure. We are given the what we're needed, what's needed in order for these relationships to pull apart. Excuse me, sorry for that alarm. Um,
Yeah.
that's reminded me about something. I do need to. The timing is perfect for Carmen to comment. So I'm going to just say this really fast. I'm going to give it to you. We are
Yes.
not doing our meeting today. Um, we are going to do it instead on Friday at the same time. And so for those of you joining live right now, it'll be a half an hour from now on Friday, not today. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to add to what you were sharing. I think people can relate to this. The ones that are really, really challenging are our family relationships. The other people, that you can sort of, it's easier to navigate, but I think with family, that tends to be pretty challenging. And I'm sure a lot of us experience that, how you're always like, "Oh my God, your blood is going to stand by you no matter what. It's forget all the friends, the family." And I was like, okay, that was not my experience, but so I had to learn that the hard way. But it was another part of the puzzle where I think there are a lot of people who are probably struggling with that, right? When it comes to family. And what I realized for myself, I had to go to a huge grieving process. It was months of like crying and all of those things. However, I also had to choose myself. It was necessary for me to kind of cut the cord at that time, because if I didn't, I would have held myself back. And I was like, I got to choose me. I'm already in this journey. I'm moving along, but then also trusting that nothing is necessarily for me permanent. So it's like, yeah, it's not good for us to be connected right now, but that doesn't mean forever. It just means for now. So, really putting myself in that space and just really reminding myself they're on their own journey, they're on their own path, just to have love and compassion and forgiveness and just keep moving forward. So,
Yeah.
for anyone who's in that situation with their family, know that it is very challenging, but also know that you have to focus on yourself and heal yourself and just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised, down the road, it's um it's pretty common for people to find that down the road,
Yeah.
individuals from their family also find themselves in the awakening experience, and then they reconnect. And that's not always true.
Yeah.
However, it's about letting go of the control of all of these things.
Yes.
I'm totally with you. It's hard. I've had to, what I called at the time, divorce my family
Yep.
a couple of different times because, like, I think that I don't know if there's a family that, are not dysfunctional in some way, you know?
But Pamela, the truth is, let's just be real. For those of us that believe in this, we chose our families before we came down here. They have
Yeah.
served a very specific purpose. Like each person, it's almost like I have to say this because it made me laugh when someone had shared this with me. So I'm going to pay it forward today. Like imagine that your life is you have this stage in front of you and you have all these characters on the stage, right?
Yeah.
And you literally, before you chose to come down here, said, okay, Bob, I need to play this part. No, I don't
Yep.
want to play. I don't want to be like this horrible person to you. I don't want to do it. I said, come on, you're like my closest friend. You need to do this for me because I want to experience this. This is what I want to experience. And then you look at the stage and there are all of these people that are probably like your besties on the other side. And they've all come to play these parts and you're part of that movie, right? And so my human still needs to go through everything, right? And I have to go through all the things because I don't remember that that's what we agreed to. But at the end
Right.
of the day, that's really what it is. These people have agreed to play parts, and we've done the same for them. And so it just reminds me that even though when we go through super challenging things and we're navigating, there will be a point where you will understand and be able to see the higher perspective of,
Mhm.
yeah, this person was here to help me see something about myself that I get to choose to shift and learn from or not. You always have a choice, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I think that that's a really important part of it. So I just wanted to share that because it's kind of funny, but it's sort of also sort of like just remind yourself sometimes when it gets really tough to be like, oh yeah, they're just a character in my play. I mean, my mom, is
Yeah.
she really my mom? No, she's just playing a part. You know, I love her. I think she's amazing. I'm so glad I chose her. But it's there's so much more to that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you told us. I was actually going to tell an almost identical story earlier. Like, because that is what happens, when you get over to the higher frequency. I don't like that we even use that. Like the fact that we put a
Yeah.
degree on it, that's what we call it. Technically, it's an octave, not even got to do anything with what we talk about. But is the same thing. It's like, how did I do? How did I do? Was I bad enough? Was I scary enough? And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did so good. Thank you so much. And like, it's like your little brother, that's
Right.
trying to come out from behind the couch to scare you. And the same thing, this is something else too, is that we'll have like a series of people,
Yes.
and it depends on where your free will and their free will and stuff lines up, all the way down to the person who cuts you off in traffic.
Mm,
Those are moments that are meant to happen.
yes.
The people that you run into, or that did something weird to you that you think is offensive or offended you in some way, those are meant to assist you. In fact, when people say it's a trigger, that's called an activation. It's
Yes.
helping us.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
If we can actually switch our terminology and not even use the word trigger and say, I'm about to get
Yeah.
activated. I'm about to get activated, y'all.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So it's just so wild. But yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. I love that. Playing with words is something I'm only learning to do. I mean, like growing up, like I didn't growing up, like in high school and stuff. I was when I started to kind of like invent words. If you merge two words, it becomes a new word,
Mhm.
and like though my daughter, she takes it to a whole different level. She's a good teacher,
Mm.
and her way. My favorite one, I use this example a lot, but she takes the word imaginary and manifest and she puts them
Mm.
together because she said that if you segregate or separate what we call imagination and put it in this little box, then it makes it not true.
Mm.
And if you so she calls it manifestary.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you can
Beautiful.
empower yourself with your words.
That's so
Like
true.
you're a really good example of this. You can do it really good. I when it comes to words like understand instead of saying understand, I I think it's because I dual majored and my second major was English with a teaching emphasis. And so saying I even with like using slang I struggle with, you know?
I know. I'm always like, I love to play with words and language. And of course, we know like the queen of that is Elsa. So,
Yeah,
I just love when she tends to kind of like get in there and like work her magic with decoding, which is so fun. Oh, and I love what Astra just wrote. Yeah, sometimes it's like some of the strongest souls come to play those parts for us, and that's something that was really interesting to me with my ex-business partner too, was just realizing, wow, maybe she's actually a sister, a real sister on the other side,
yeah,
playing this part for me. So it just allows us to just shift our perspective in a really powerful and empowering way. That's something for me that's always, are you doing things that empower you or disempower you? You know? Um, and so I think that's a really important part of the equation too.
yeah. Oh yeah. And and everybody has their way, allow yourself to fill it out and you're not meant to be like somebody else at all. The whole point here, the goal here is to be who you are in your most authentic way. And that takes for many of us unpacking
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that we don't even know has nothing to do with who we really are.
Yeah. So true.
You know?
So true.
Yeah.
But it's just this wild ride and journey. Might as well have fun as much as possible, right? We're definitely going to go have our highs and lows, but how are we going to ride the waves, right? And I just keep reminding myself is every moment is an opportunity, and there's going to be drama, chaos, all kinds of things around us at all times. It just is. That's
Yeah.
just, the environment. But do we have to play in it? We don't. We can
Right.
also just observe and be
Yep.
aware and not step into it.
Yep.
Stay sometimes in your bubble. That's a good place to be sometimes, and keep yourself centered and grounded, right?
Oh yeah.
No.
And the best trick that or information that the realization took longer than the knowledge. Like you learn something and then you actually realize it's true. Kind of, it takes sometimes a while. Is
Yes.
that you can't make no one can make somebody anything. You can't make somebody happy. You
No.
can't make somebody sad, mad, and um, most of where I learned how to be in an energy and not have to participate was the first example of when I finally fully understood this, and someone came to me trying to tell me that I had made them mad.
Mm.
And I mean, it, what words I said definitely inspired more anger because what I had said was, I can't make you mad. I
Mm.
that's not possible.
Mhm.
And they had said that, that what they were doing was they were trying to manipulate me to apologize.
Mm.
And I'm not somebody who avoids or doesn't see that I have a part in things. It's the word to apologize for something is something I'm trying to not do across the board. It's a spiritual thing. It's got nothing to do with I can see if I have responsibility. But at the same time, if I'm choosing to, participate and, oh, sorry about that, and trying to do this whole thing, like, don't manipulate me. And then that was my last thing, is what I said was, I said, I do not consent to your manipulation. And but I didn't do it. I wasn't throwing the words at him like snowballs. I was like, this is me. I'm good. And you're good. Like, this is the bubble. And if you want to play in my bubble, you can't be full of mud. You got to wipe your shoes, and like, and so I'll be over here in my happy bubble. And if you want to come, then you know what to do. See you later. And then I left by saying, I love you, and then left. And that was the first time I had done it. And man, the exhilaration and release that I felt through that process, understanding it as it was happening. And I wasn't saying it again like, ha ha ha, like, it was totally like, I love you. And I hope you see this too, that I no longer have to be a player in that petty game. Now I get to live,
Wow. Powerful, Pamela. All right. If y'all paying attention, that's the way to do it. Good communication, because it's hard, right? It is hard to sometimes really say what you need to say, but to do it with love and compassion.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get, as they say, triggered, and then you're going to say these things, and you're going to be like, oh man, I wish I hadn't said all of those things. So it's one of those things that it's like, when you're clear on your boundaries and what works for you, and you're centered and you're balanced, you're calm, you're able to express and communicate it in a way that is, I feel more loving and expansive. Now, the other person might not be in that space, but at least from your end, that you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got no regret too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and I think that's the thing to navigate, that, it's interesting. I feel this is something that came up in yesterday, just in one of the groups I'm part of, is, a lot of us, when we've done so much work and we've really worked hard on ourselves, and we're creating our boundaries and being authentic and living our best lives and whatever, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to ride with you, right? So sometimes you get surprised, because you're like, wow, this person has done so much of their work. They're so high vibration, so whatever. Like, how is this even like showing up? But that's when we get reminded that we're still in our human suit, and this is what we came to experience, and we got to navigate it. But every time you navigate it, you now have a little bit more finesse, if I would use that word, a little bit more finesse in how you do it, because you're like, okay, I did it good last time, but I think I can do it even better this time for myself, and not be attached to how someone else is going to receive it. We can't. We can only do our part, and they're part of their own package, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not the director, you're just a player.
Right.
Yeah. Like with the take 3 this time, do it with more finesse, like this time, don't throw that at me. Instead,
I was like, listen, let's try to do like one-shot deals. Let's not try to repeat. I don't know about how many people here are like, yeah, I can't wait to come back again. I was like, well, I think I'd like a different adventure next time. Maybe not a human incarnation. I will go off on another adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us have been talking about our vacation planet and wondering where it's at. It's like, aren't these vehicles here to deliver us to our vacation planet? Aren't we done? With it? The ascension's here. We're good, right?
We're getting there. I'm telling you, technology is, moving fast. So you don't know what's going to show up. Even by the end of this year, I'm telling you, things could start to pop up where you're going to see like these hoverboards in the sky, and we're all just like, moving around, dancing around on those, and
Yeah.
wow, what's possible?
Well, something I just popped up the other day. I shared it at the meme on, like everybody knows, I share a billion memes on Facebook. That's one of, but this one popped up. I thought was really just bringing that up.
Yeah.
Is 2 years ago was when George Jetson was born, based on how the Jetsons story goes, and so he's 2 now. And that's like, if that's much of anything in like the way of like kind of understanding how things, because sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
You'll notice that uh these movies are kind of like prophetic, they kind of tell us.
Yeah.
So I mean, how old was George Jetson in that series? I don't know. He had 2 kids, he had a teenager, depending on how early he started having children.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
It could be. I know that we're expecting between now, 2025 and 2027 is like when the main stuff's happening.
Mm.
And so most of us in the spiritual community have been waiting for this particular year. And so like, I mean, and not just, it's so funny. It's like, it doesn't matter what background the person has. Everybody, like, you got the witches and you got the astrology, people, and you got like, the just hippies or whatever word title you want to add to somebody. And everybody's like, okay, wait, we're here now. This is the year. And then, what are we going to do with it? What are you going to choose to do with this energy that you get to be in? This is the time when all the toys in the toy box get dumped down. You get to pick. What are you going to choose for your reality?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at. We get to choose. I think that's the biggest thing, is that realizing that we get to choose. Not only do we get to choose, we get to create, like literally create. And, bring in Maddie's word, like you said, use that word. You're going to have to throw that in the chat somewhere, because I'm like, that was too good.
Manifestory.
Yeah. That is so great. I just love it. I think we all get to share that word. It's beautiful and powerful.
There we go. I'll put it up. And your
Yeah.
friend here, she's using her friend's account. It's Alicia.
Hey, Alicia. I'm just so grateful. I just wanted to take a moment to say that again, for just everyone showing up and participating and just, supporting. And, like I said, it's like I have been in my bubble for a while. So I just want to thank you so much, Pamela, for like getting me to kind of come out. I've been wanting to sort of like, oh, I should, restart my podcast and this and that and whatever. But I was also like, you know what? I'm just going to tune into what feels right. And when you're like, sister, let's get on, I'm like, let's do it. This is going to be perfect. And I can share, we can catch up, and we can, connect with a lot of other beautiful souls and have a delightful conversation.
I'm really happy that you agreed to come on today's show. I've been thinking about you quite a lot for some time now.
Me
And I
too.
really wanted to know how you were doing in the islands. I knew that there's a lot going on there right now, and it's good. It's all good. It's all beautiful. And yeah, some of it feels less than beautiful, but it's, visually speaking, it looks like when you open up like a Tupperware if you open the lid on something that's been closed for a really long time, even if it's still awesome inside, even if the thing that's in there is good, that initial air of aroma that comes off isn't always beautiful. It isn't always a lovely fragrance, and so I feel like that's where we are right now, and that's where what you're doing too while you're there, is that you're one of the lid lifters,
Yes. Yes. And I love that you shared that. And I think if we can remember that each one of us in our own way, like we are really powerful light beings, right? For lack of a better word. And if you just remember that any way that you can, in just your beingness and every day, you don't have to do anything, just being out and about, you're sharing your vibration, your energy, and that alone is creating shifts. whether it's the land that you're stepping on, the people that you're connecting with, whatever it is. So I just remind myself that sometimes, like, I don't know exactly, like, what is my purpose and what am I supposed to be doing. Like, I don't even ask those questions anymore. And I know I did a lot when I was waking up. I'm like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do? What is my gift? And what am I, blah, blah, blah. And like, slowly you get to a point where you're like, those things don't even matter, because I feel like sometimes they're also coming from the ego, right? Like, I need to know some answer that I'm like really powerful, I'm really magical. I'm like,
Yeah.
do I really need all of that? No. I'm just a magical unicorn. That's all. That's what I feel. I'm just gonna go with that.
Yep. Yep. The lid's about to blow off. I gotta tell you this one. This one's hilarious. Charlie's like, I heard you're offering free housing in Hawaii. Is that still happening? What's your address? We're all coming.
It's so funny. I love he joined. He's actually one of my ex-bosses, one of my most favorite jobs ever that I had, being a concierge from Chicago. So, hey, Charlie, I'm so excited that you tuned in. And yeah, just get yourself over here. We'll figure it out. You might have to live in a barn, but that's okay. I'm sure you'll be cool with that. Just sharing space with some chickens and ducks. Maybe a wild.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah, we're not putting this out to everybody, by the way, just in case we don't get flooded in with a whole bunch of comments. I don't think that you're gonna like invite the whole world, right?
Well, we all know, right? The moment you say you're like in Hawaii, everyone's like, "Oh, really? Hawaii? Can I come visit?" Like, I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that's going to be happening." So, okay, you just have to be prepared. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Purposes to play. Yes, I know. Like, people would always say, right? Oh, I was a black sheep in my family. I would hear it, and I was like, I don't think I really embrace that term. I am a rainbow, sparkly unicorn. That's what I'm going to call myself. No black sheep.
Yeah. I always see myself as a tie-dye sheep. Like, that's my natural, like, I mean, since high school, probably, I usually have like, camo shorts or camo pants and a tie-dye. That's how I dress. I don't know why. Sometimes I'll wear different color pants, but like when, I'm trying to be more professional, I'll wear like, this kind of a thing, but
Listen,
but I'm all about tie-dye.
It's very casual on the farm, and I had to like borrow some attire because I was like, I do not have the right attire to be living on a farm. So I'm very grateful that I was provided my beautiful yellow wellies to wear and a nice little plaid shirt. Because listen, the mosquitoes love your girl. And it doesn't matter how much I talk to the mosquito collective, they're still coming for me right now. So I'm like, all right, here's a funny thing, right? So when they do bite me, I talk to them. I said, okay, listen, here's the deal. If you're going to bite me, it's going to be an activation. Okay. It's going to be an activation. So come to me only when you have an activation.
Actually, I can tell you a little bit about this.
Ooh, please do.
Yeah, the symbol that when you said that, by the way, the first thing I thought of was Lilo and Stitch. She loves that cartoon, and like they were on Hawaii, and I don't know what island, and but this big thing was that they spared this world because the mosquito population was endangered species, and so we're their food, is what that was. Anyway, but this is what I was really going to say. That just the visual that popped is so it is the main food source for many variety of bat as well as dragonfly, and so it's meant to code the DNA of you to these individuals. To the dragonfly, what it does is its wings actually never look the same to the, if you have two people there, they're going to see a completely different range of color and frequency. And they actually bring forward the third eye activation, the dragonfly. That's why it's such a profound thing when you see dragonfly come in. They eat 100 mosquitoes a day, dragonflies do. And so it's the main food source of them. And so when they consume also your DNA, then they're more equipped to activate you to your specific need of coding. Same is true also for bat, for um you know, as there is light there is dark kind of a concept, though it's not dark, it's just the nighttime version of dragonfly. And so you'll find that the bat, um, anyone who has bat in their totem, as soon as their totem is red, and many of these like indigenous First Nations people groups, they will be immediately begin um, to be like sculpted to be shaman. Bat is a really high frequency, you know, owl as well as snake, though specifically bat. And so, anyway, and then the last part of it is the reason mosquito came. The native story that I was told about mosquito has to do with buffalo praying to Great Spirit because they had run out of food. There was no more grass, and going to sleep expecting when they woke up that there would be more grass, and instead there were mosquito. So not only was there not more grass, but then they were being bitten by these pests. Before long, they realized that if they ran, then the mosquito wouldn't bite them. And the mosquito motivated them to begin to flock, to migrate to greener grasses, places that hadn't been consumed by them. And then eventually, mosquito shows back up when the grass is just about eaten up and motivates them to move again. So it's the motivator. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this.
I love it. Oh my God, Pamela, you have no idea. I'm like smiling from ear to ear because, a couple of things. Number one, every day there's like 3 or 4 dragonflies right outside my door every day. And I love dragonflies. And so it's so beautiful what you're sharing, because the other thing, because I asked somebody who's on the farm as well, I said, what's with all these mosquitoes and how does it work? He says, oh, don't worry. You see this, like all this water here, you see those little fishes, they're eating all the like larvae too. Then you got the dragonflies, and there's a bunch of, I shouldn't say bunch, there's a lot of water buffaloes here on this land. So it's like you're just connecting so many dots. So I love that so much. Bat, I don't know, but all the other things are all here. So I love that you connected that for me, where I'm like, you're activating me. These bites are activating me.
Yeah. And eventually they stop. So I'm just like you, was the person, no one would be getting bit. Like we would be in a circle of people all talking, and the sun would be starting to set, and here come the mosquitoes, but no one else is getting bit but me. The first of the season, you can always tell I'm the one that's getting covered. As always was like that until I fully understood this whole dragonfly. They finally told me, because I've been asking that question for a while and I always get laughed at, spirit. And then they showed me the dragonfly thing. I've only since then, so it's been about 4 years since that happened. I've only had probably 5 or 6 bites since then. I used to be covered. Like there'd be spaces be like that far apart where mosquito bites hadn't happened on my body. Like that was it. Like I would be pockmarked. And now it doesn't happen. So there's something about that knowledge and the embracing of it. And then, like you said, suddenly they just kind of they don't bite you as much.
Yes.
So that's good to know.
And it's like I said, part of it is anywhere that you are, there are going to be things that are going to be around you. It's like, I'm just embracing it all because it's just part of it, right? It's part of it. There's going to be things that I'm going to love and things I don't love, but that's okay. It's all part of the package, right? I'm just focusing on the things that I really do enjoy and allowing for the other things to occur. Like they're part of the process. They're doing their job.
Right. It's funny is that when you said the word align, I just looked up. I just happened to look over, and we'd been on for 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 56 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You said align, and it was like.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe we've been on for so long already, Mela. Oh my goodness.
We probably should wrap it up.
Yes, absolutely.
I would love to stay and chat with you longer. Though we started. She's making robots. We So that's actually why I was like, I can't be here as early as I thought. I got really engrossed in what we were doing. And
Mhm.
like as a lot of you guys know, I home teach, and so and we today was the day we started to do robots. And so like it's a
So
lot of fun.
cool.
She's a lot better at it than me. She's a little builder. But she's waiting for me to go and do some more with her. So I should get going.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has just been so amazing, and my cheeks actually hurting from all the laughing and smiling. So thank you for that as well. I know we
Thank
always have
you.
such a great time when we connect, and of course, this beautiful, amazing audience, like chiming in and bringing in all this beautiful energy and all the comments and everything else, like just adds
Yeah.
to all the fun of co-creation. So I just want to
Yeah.
thank you again so much, sister. This has been so beautiful. Thank you for pulling me out of my bubble and allowing me to share with the universe where I'm at, what I'm up to, and also catch up a little bit and to, just engage with everybody. And I'm so excited for, this year and the year of the snake and what we're all going to be sort of transforming, transmuting, elevating, embracing, living. So many words, right? So thank you so much. I'm so grateful, Pamela, and I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you so much too. This has been a really fun conversation. I'm really happy that you're able to come out of your bubble. So, or your hermiting or
Thank
and
you.
yeah, just thank you all for being here in the audience. I just have a quick announcement. Just a reminder, we are not meeting. We would have started right now already. So just so we're not meeting today. We're doing it on Friday instead, at the same time, and the day after. On the 1st of February for the northern hemisphere, on is the 2-2 portal in the southern hemisphere. Elsa and I are going to be joining for a uncommonly timed show, to talk about a lot of different things. It's Groundhog Day, and so there's a 2-2 portal and a lot of TikTok, a lot of time. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Actually, it's going to be one of those kind of shows. So if you get a chance to join in, that would be on Saturday for the Northern Hemisphere, Sunday for the Southern Hemisphere. And that is going to start at 1 p.m. Central Time. So do the math for your local area. And you can also see it on replay after. So thank you so very much once again. I would love it if you wanted to do another co-creation at some point. I always love connecting with you.
Thank you, Pamela. Me too. Love you so much. And thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day or night, wherever you are.
And happy Lunar New Year.
Yes.
I hope blessings.